I can't believe it's that time again. Happy New Year, listeners. 2 years ago on New Year's Eve, with less than an hour to go until midnight, that's when my husband came out to me as a transgender woman. That first year was difficult and really, really dark, as in my brain had to shut down and reboot. A year later, things were better. I started the podcast, but I was not interested in celebrating New Year's Eve or day. The wounds were just too fresh, still healing. This year, I'm happy to say, I am finally looking forward to celebrating New Year's Eve again. Talk about progress. Welcome to Straight Wife, Trans Life. I'm Lisa. Today's episode is all about what changed in 2 years, that a day that lost its joy could become a happy day again. First of all, hear me out. Each person in the relationship, when your spouse or partner comes out as transgender, should get a superhero cape. You are superheroes now. Think about it. 1, people are now afraid or cautious around the two of you because they don't understand what's happening. It's as though your spouse has permanently transformed into the Incredible Hulk. And it's hard to wrap your head around that. 2, it is isolating until we find allies or other superheroes going through this, like the Marvel or DC comic characters that rely on each other for support. So we're left hanging out in our bat caves, trying to make life look as normal as possible for our family, if we've decided to tell them. 3, when people do find out that your spouse or partner is transgender, the ones who don't know what to say will call you brave. See, we're superheroes. What actually changed in the last 2 years is I gained some superpowers. And like it or not, if you are going through this similar scenario, you will gain superpowers too. Maybe not overnight, maybe not the same as mine, but you will look back at some point along your own path of moving forward, and you'll say, look at that. I'm doing much better than I was back then. My first superpower has been acceptance. When I met one of my spouse's friends for the first time after we had been dating for a few months, he said to me, "I really appreciate that my friend is still the same person he has always been with you." And I was touched, but I also wondered, what kind of people was my spouse dating before me? Other than making sure that my spouse uses the correct utensils at restaurants, or the correct article of clothing is worn to a specific event, I'm very you do you about things. But, and there is always a but, accepting that your spouse is going to transition is a different kind of acceptance than the usual marriage stuff about what to wear or say or do. That first year after disclosure, I had to try really hard and accept that transitioning is not something I can or should control. I had to accept that my spouse started hormones and lost a lot of weight in the first year. Her appearance really changed and her mannerisms changed. I accepted that this year my spouse has had a lot of hair removal and she just had facial feminization surgery, also known as FFS. Acceptance as my superpower means understanding that I cannot control this transition. What I can control is how I react to the changes. I choose to accept and support my spouse as she is. My second superpower has been self-awareness, taking a hard look inward. And I had to do that, and I recognized that with a little nudge from my spouse, I needed therapy or some kind of professional help to support me through this initial stage of transition. And I will link resources in the episode description. So I did therapy for a year, and I had 2 therapists. There was one just for me. We had one-on-one sessions to talk about the transition and how I felt about it. And then I had a session with my spouse where we talked about it together, how our relationship is going to look moving forward. And after that year, I felt a lot better. I didn't really feel like I needed any more of that type of support. I did, however, need a support system. Having a transgender spouse or partner is not easy for the average person to relate to. And I had to take the initiative, do some searching to find the group that felt supportive, open, honest, safe, and I did. It took a few tries of attending different meetings, but I found a wonderful group of spouses who are also going through a very similar situation. If there is one silver lining to my spouse coming out as transgender, it has been meeting a group of others navigating this scenario who are smart, genuine, funny, honest, loving people. And a bonus has been receiving messages from you, listeners. My spouse coming out has opened my world to a whole new community that I didn't even know much about. So this first year was all about self-awareness. I also recognized that if my spouse was going to transition, I would need to work on my own transition as well. I had to do something for myself because if I didn't, I might crumble. And I didn't want to crumble because my spouse and I are parents. We both want to be there for our son. So I had to take a while, the time that it took, and go deep and ask myself, where do I want to go with my future? Like, what does my future look like with or without my spouse? What would I like to pursue? And then I took some steps to start feeling better about things or to do, just doing something for myself. So I took classes in an industry that I'd always been interested in, but had never made time to look further into. And now I'm pursuing it as a career. So acceptance and self-awareness are the main ingredients that led to the bigger superpower of, drumroll please, resilience. Because once you have figured out how to accept your spouse or partner's transition, and once you look inward and figure out what you need to do to move forward for yourself, you gain resilience, which is like armor. My resilience allows me to bounce back from negative comments, to stand up for my spouse because I do care about her. It allows me to not care what other people might think when they see us, and to understand that it's not my fault when someone can't accept a transgender person in their life. And my resilience has helped me understand that, yes, I had a great marriage. It's okay that things look different now. It's also okay that I need to cry when I miss what I had. I'm human. And, some people don't understand what a mixed orientation marriage is. I just learned about it myself since I find myself in one. And that is okay. It's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to put on that armor and lift yourself out of sadness or grief or whatever your emotion so that you can move forward and take it one day at a time. Nothing is set in stone. Just take it one day at a time. And that's it. That is what has brought me here to being able to enjoy the coming year. And that is my hope for you for the year ahead. No matter your timeline, our timelines are all different. Our situations are unique. I hope you find your superpowers, a way to be at peace with the changes in your life, to figure out how you can move forward toward a happier place, and ask yourself the tough questions. What makes you happy? And here's a hint. It's about you, not your spouse or partner. What is going to make you happy? Set some goals. And I hope you find your people, your community, where you lift each other up along the way. Your community is a big piece to your superpowers working. Until next time, go put on a cape and Happy New Year.